I solved everyone's problems, stayed late, covered mistakes, held it all together. But when everything fell apart, I finally discovered what happens to the hero when no one's left to save him. They call me the fixer. Not out loud, of course. No one ever handed me a cape or threw me a party. But I was the guy they always turned to when things went sideways. Projects behind schedule? Bring it to Nate. Client on the verge of walking? Nate can smooth it over. Half the department threatening to quit? Nate will work late and patch it up. That was me, Nate Green, the dependable one. The guy who never said no, never dropped the ball, never made it about himself. I was not flashy, not the loudest voice in meetings. I did not crack jokes in the break room or hog the whiteboard. I just showed up every day, got the job done, and kept the chaos from spilling over. And for a long time, that was enough. I thought it meant something. I thought if I kept being the guy who held everything together, they would see me. Not just use me, see me. It started small, like it always does. One late night here, one skipped lunch there. Then the emergencies started stacking up like junk mail. Last-minute presentations. Broken workflows. Entire teams missing deadlines and tossing their messes my way with a half-hearted, "Sorry, man, I know you're slammed, but..." But of course I did it. I always did. And they thanked me. Kind of. A nod in a meeting. A joke about me being the glue. Sometimes my manager, Carla, would say, "We do not know how we would survive without you," right before handing me another two people's workload. The worst part? I believed them. I believed every half-praise, every rushed, "good job," every fake smile during performance review season. I told myself I mattered, that my sacrifice meant something. I thought being useful was the same as being valued. God, I was an idiot. Still, I kept at it. I covered for the guy in marketing when he missed a week of work dealing with family stuff. Turned out he was in Cabo. I took on 2 new interns because no one else has your patience. I rewrote code, redid client reports, even ran damage control when the VP insulted a client on a call and pretended it was a misunderstanding. That was my life, holding a structure together that was never meant to stand. And I kept holding it, even when it started to crush me. But there was one week, that broke everything. It did not start with some dramatic explosion. No screaming match. No huge betrayal. It started with a phone call. And by the time I hung up, I realized the same people who leaned on me like I was a pillar would vanish the second I cracked. And brother, I was about to crack. The phone call came on a Tuesday morning. Early. Too early. I was already half awake, lying there in that stale, overworked fog, trying to remember if I had eaten dinner the night before. I picked up on the second ring. It was my sister. Her voice was calm, but tight. The kind of calm that only exists right before everything falls apart. She told me Dad had collapsed during his morning walk. Paramedics came fast. She was on her way to the hospital. They did not know much yet. I sat up too quickly, the room tilting around me like I had been punched in the head. My chest tightened. I had not seen my dad in a couple months. We texted, sure. Swapped photos. Nothing serious. But now, this? I told my sister I would be there. And I meant it. I hung up, stared at the wall, and realized I had 10 open tasks waiting for me at work. A broken client dashboard I was supposed to fix by noon. A budget file due by 4. And Carla, my manager, had messaged me late last night about some executive deck she needed eyes on first thing. I should have sent one message. My dad is in the hospital. I will be offline today. That is what a sane person would have done. But no, I opened my laptop, just to check a few things. I figured I could send the files real quick, patch the dashboard, then head to the hospital. Just an hour. Maybe 2. 2 turned into 5. 5 turned into me still sitting at that kitchen table, stress drinking old coffee while fielding Slack messages and editing a slide deck I never wanted to touch. By the time I finally shut the laptop, it was almost 5 in the evening. At the hospital, I found my sister in the hallway, arms crossed, face drawn. She asked why it took me so long. I told her the truth. I had to work. She blinked at me like she did not understand the words. I will never forget what she said. "Nate, nobody's going to give you a medal for putting work before your father." I did not say anything back. What could I say? Dad was stable, thank God. A minor stroke, they said. Could have been worse. He would need therapy, time, support. I promised my sister I would help. Whatever she needed. Grocery runs. Hospital visits. She nodded but did not smile. I knew what she was thinking. I had become that guy. The one who only shows up when everything is already falling apart. And yet, the next morning, there I was, back at my desk before sunrise, trying to clean up someone else's mess again. Because no one else would. That was the line I kept feeding myself. The reason I stayed in this hamster wheel. But deep down, I felt it. A crack forming. And something was about to slip through. That week bled into the next like a leaky faucet that never shut off. Every day felt the same. Wake up with a pit in my stomach, fire off a few half-hearted messages, and chase problems that were not even mine. Sleep? Barely. Food? Mostly vending machine trash or whatever I could microwave in under 2 minutes. Showering felt optional. My inbox. A minefield. But I still showed up. Because I was the guy who held things together. Carla stopped asking if I had time. She just sent things with, "I know this is last minute, but I trust you." Those words used to feel good. Now they felt like a weight dropped on my chest. One time I typed out a reply, "I'm drowning here," but I deleted it. Replaced it with, "I'll take care of it." No one even noticed the difference. And it was not just work. My sister started messaging me less. I missed 2 of Dad's rehab appointments, then 3. Each time, I told myself I would make it up to them. But deep down, I knew I was lying. The weirdest part? I was not even doing great work anymore. I was sloppy, distracted. I messed up a forecast report so badly they had to re-present it to the client. But instead of calling me out, Carla just said, "No worries. We know you've got a lot going on. Can you fix it by Friday?" They needed me to stay useful. That was it. Not healthy, not balanced. Just functional enough to keep bailing water out of their sinking boat. One night, I opened my phone and scrolled through old photos. My face looked different back then, less sunken, less hollow. I saw a picture of me and Dad at the lake from 2 summers ago. He had his arm around me, both of us laughing at something dumb I probably said. I could not remember the last time I laughed like that. It hit me then. I was burning out. Not the trendy, I need a vacation kind. The real thing. The slow rot. The kind that eats you from the inside out. But I pushed the thought aside. Because Thursday was coming. A client audit. A high-priority deck. Another fire to put out. I just had to make it to the weekend. That was the lie I told myself. But Thursday never came. Because Wednesday night, something happened. Something that made it all come crashing down. And it started with a single email. It hit my inbox at 11:47 p.m. I remember the exact time because I was half asleep on the couch, the laptop balanced on my stomach, my neck twisted in some god-awful angle. I had passed out trying to finalize slides for a meeting I was not even invited to. Classic, right? The notification dinged. That dumb little sound that always makes my heart jump, like I am Pavlov's office dog. The subject line was plain. Friday presentation, final decision. It was from Carla. I clicked it open, expecting a few tweaks, maybe a thank you, maybe a late night, "You're a lifesaver," like she always sent when she needed something last minute. But it was not that. It was a forwarded thread, a long one, between Carla and the executive team. And it was not meant for me. I should not have seen it. I scrolled back to the start. The conversation was about the presentation I had been killing myself over, the strategy deck I had basically built from scratch, after hours, across 4 nights, skipping dinner, ignoring calls from my sister, falling asleep in spreadsheets. And right there, clear as day, was Carla saying, "Nate's been great for grunt work, but for something this client-facing, we should go with someone more polished. Maybe Dan can clean it up and present instead." Grunt work. That is what she called it. Dan, the guy who left early every Thursday for his golf league and once asked me if pivot tables were a kind of salad, was now the one polished enough to take credit for my work. They were not even subtle about it. One of the execs replied, "Sure, just make sure Nate is looped in enough to keep it afloat if things go sideways." So I was not invisible, just useful, like duct tape or a fire extinguisher. I sat there, the screen glowing in the dark, that single word echoing in my skull, grunt. And suddenly, it all clicked. The nights I stayed late while everyone else went home. The weekends I spent tweaking numbers for reports no one read. The half-hearted thank yous. The praise that was never quite a raise. This was never about loyalty. It was about leverage. I had built my identity around being indispensable, around being the one who never dropped the ball. And they were more than happy to let me keep believing that, as long as it worked for them. But the second they had to choose between giving me credit and polishing up the optics, they picked optics. I did not sleep that night. Not because I was angry, Not yet. It was worse than anger. It was that hollow kind of silence where your brain starts doing the math. How many years had I given them? How many birthdays had I missed? How many times had I said, "I'm fine," when I was not? I stared at my hands, numb, thinking one thought over and over again. What if I stopped showing up? And for the first time in a long time. That did not sound like a threat. It sounded like a possibility. I did not set an alarm that morning. For the first time in almost 7 years, I let the sun wake me up instead of a vibrating phone or a calendar notification yelling at me from the dark. It was almost 9. The office would already be scrambling. Carla would be looking for that final version of the deck, the one I had half finished before reading that email. Dan would be pacing, pretending to understand the material he was about to present. I just sat there, staring at the wall, feeling light. It was strange. Not peaceful, not happy, just weightless. Like someone had finally cut the rope I had been dragging behind me for years. My phone buzzed, Slack, then Gmail, then Teams. Same order, like clockwork. Messages piling up. I ignored them. I made a real breakfast. Toast that did not come from a vending machine. Eggs. Even brewed fresh coffee, instead of choking down some office brand sludge. Around 10:30, my phone rang. Carla. I let it go to voicemail. The second time she called, I picked up, curious, mostly. She jumped in, breathless, chipper in that fake tone she always used when trying not to sound panicked. Nate. Hey. Just checking. Did you get a chance to finalize that deck for Dan? We're a little pressed here. I cut her off. Calm. Clear. No, I didn't. There was a pause. Then, okay. Well, can you? No, Carla. I'm not doing it. Longer pause now. Nate, are you okay? That line. That performative concern. That line they always pull out right after they have wrung every drop out of you. I'm fine, I said. But I'm done. Silence. You know what silence sounds like when someone realizes their safety net just ripped? That was it. Right there. She started to stammer. Something about how we could talk it through, how I was an important part of the team, how this was just a misunderstanding, how Dan's involvement was not meant to diminish my work. I just said, I read the emails, Carla. Silence again. Then came the real voice, flat, corporate, cold. Well, if you're walking away in the middle of a client deliverable, that's a serious issue. And there it was. The shift. From "Are you okay?" to "You're replaceable." I almost laughed. I gave you everything, I said. And the second I stopped being convenient, this is how fast it changes. She tried again, but I was already hanging up. And just like that, I was out. No formal resignation. No goodbye email. No rage-fueled exit speech in the break room. Just silence. I turned my phone off and went outside. For a walk. No destination. Just movement. Just air. And you know what? The sky did not fall. The building did not collapse. The emails kept flying. The meetings happened without me. Because they always would. But something else happened, too. By noon, they had sent someone else to fix the mess. Dan screwed up the presentation. A junior analyst tried to patch it. The client was annoyed. And Carla? She sent me one last message. Wish you had given us a little warning. No, thank you. No, we're sorry. Just blame. Disappointment. That was the day I realized something that stung more than anything else. You are only a hero as long as you never asked to be saved. You would think walking away from work would bring some kind of relief. Peace, even. That was not how it felt. That night, my apartment was too quiet. Not the good kind of quiet. More like the "you left something burning" kind. Every room felt like it was holding its breath. I kept expecting a new message. A call. Something. Nothing came. I thought maybe my sister would check in. I had missed another one of Dad's appointments the day before. I had promised I would help more. I even put reminders in my calendar, like it was some task I could pencil in between spreadsheets and slide decks. But I never showed. When I called her that evening, she did not answer. I left a voicemail. Just said, "Hey, I quit my job today. Figured you'd want to know." Still nothing. The next day, I went to see my dad. The nurse told me he had finished therapy hours ago. My sister had taken him home already. She left a note. One line, written in her tight, frustrated handwriting. Maybe try being reliable when it actually matters. That one hurt. Worse than Carla. Worse than the email. Because she was right. I had been the guy who showed up for everyone, but the people who mattered most. Dad had never asked much of me. He was not a big talker. The kind of guy who kept his feelings tucked beneath layers of old flannel and quiet strength. But in those moments when he did need someone, rides to the doctor, help with bills, just someone to sit beside him, I was not there. I was too busy being useful to strangers. That night, I opened my laptop out of habit, just stared at the blank screen. No deadlines, no project list, no one waiting on me. And that should have felt like freedom, but it felt like failure. Who was I, without the emergencies? Who was I, without the praise? Who was I, when I was not fixing something? I looked around my apartment and saw it for what it really was, a crash pad. No warmth, just a space where I recharged between tasks. Half-folded laundry, stack of takeout containers. I had built my life around being needed, and the second that need disappeared, I had nothing left to lean on. That night, I slept maybe 2 hours. Woke up in a sweat, heart racing, like I had forgotten something urgent. But there was no meeting, no crisis, just a voicemail. From Carla. She said, "We could use your help on something next week. Contract basis. No pressure, just let me know." That was the moment. Right there. The realization hit me like a punch to the chest. They did not miss me. They missed the convenience of me. And for the first time in my adult life, I did not answer. 3 days passed before I heard from anyone again. No messages from work. No texts from my sister. Nothing. I kept thinking I would wake up and regret it, that the panic would kick in, that urge to fix everything before it broke. But the longer the silence stretched, the more something unexpected started to grow in me. Clarity. Not the peaceful kind. The raw, uncomfortable kind that makes you realize just how much of your life was built on panic. I started noticing things I had been blind to for years. The sunlight hitting my kitchen counter in the morning. The ache in my shoulders that never really went away. The constant hum in my chest that I used to mistake for drive. It was just exhaustion. By Thursday, I decided to do something I had not done in months. I went to see my dad again. No excuses, no laptop in my bag, no phone buzzing in my pocket. He was sitting in his recliner, half watching a baseball game, half dozing off. When he saw me, his eyes lit up, and that one look made every sleepless night at work feel like the biggest waste of my life. We talked, really talked, about nothing and everything. He asked if I was still working those crazy hours. I told him I quit. He laughed, a real, full laugh that came from somewhere deep. "Good," he said. "About damn time." He did not need details, did not ask for the story. He just nodded like he had been waiting for me to come to that conclusion on my own. Later that night, I checked my email again. Old habits die hard. There it was. Another message from Carla. Subject, quick favor. She wrote that Dan's client presentation had gone a little sideways, and they could really use my input. Just a few hours of consulting, she said. Easy pay. I hovered over the reply button for a long time. I could almost feel the old version of me stirring. The one who lived off being needed. The one who could not stand the thought of letting something fall apart. But I did not open it. I deleted it. That simple click, delete, felt like more than quitting a job. It felt like drawing a line in the sand. Because I finally understood something they never wanted me to figure out. They did not love that I fixed things. They loved that I never asked to be fixed. That night, I slept 8 straight hours. No alarms. No guilt. But peace never comes without a cost. The next morning, my sister called. Her voice was low, tired. Dad had another episode last night, she said. He's okay now, but you should probably come. I was already grabbing my keys before she finished. And as I drove through the gray morning light, I felt that familiar rush again. The need to fix, to save, to hold it all together. But this time, something inside me whispered, not everything is yours to fix. And I did not know it yet. But that truth, those 6 quiet words, were about to change everything that came next. Dad was in his hospital bed again when I got there. Same white sheets, same beeping machines, same smell of sanitizer that makes every hallway feel like a reminder of time running out. He looked weaker this time. Paler. But still him. Still that same half-smile that told me he did not want me to worry. My sister was in the corner, scrolling on her phone, shoulders tense. When she looked up and saw me, she froze. We had not talked much since the note she left. Be reliable when it matters. I nodded at her, trying to keep things calm. Hey, I said. Hey, she replied, short and clipped. For a while, we just sat there listening to the machines hum. Then she sighed. I'm sorry about what I wrote. I was angry. I know you've got your own stuff. I shook my head. No, you were right. I just didn't realize how wrong my priorities were until it was too late. Dad's eyes flicked open. He looked at both of us and muttered something that barely came out as a whisper. "Don't fight," he said. "You're both too old for that." We laughed. Just a little. It felt good, even if only for a second. The doctor came in soon after. He talked about medication, recovery, stress management, the usual. Then he mentioned that Dad should not be living alone anymore. Someone needed to check in daily. My sister looked at me immediately. I knew that look. The one that said, "You'll do it, right? You always do." But this time, I felt that quiet resistance rise in my chest. I wanted to say yes. It was instinct. I had built my whole life around saying yes. But the truth was, I was barely holding myself together. "I'll help," I said slowly, "but I can't do it all." Her eyebrows lifted, like she had not even considered the possibility of me saying no. "What do you mean you can't?" she asked. "You're not even working right now." There it was. The old logic. If you have space, fill it. If you have strength, spend it. I said, keeping my voice calm. "I'll help when I can. But I'm not going to lose myself again trying to save everyone else." Her mouth opened like she wanted to argue, then closed again. For once, she did not have a comeback. Something changed in her eyes. Maybe she finally saw it. The exhaustion, the years of overextension, the guilt that had been eating me alive. Dad looked between us and smiled faintly. "You kids finally figured it out," he said. "Took you long enough." That moment, just three of us in that quiet hospital room, felt like the first real breath I had taken in years. Later that night, as I drove home, I got another email notification. Carlo again. Subject line: "Nate, one last favor?" I stared at it for a long time while parked outside my apartment. Then I did something I had never done before. I deleted her contact entirely. No warning. No goodbye. I sat there in the dark, phone in my lap, realizing something simple but powerful. Maybe the world does not fall apart when you stop fixing it. Maybe it just learns to fix itself. And for the first time, that thought did not scare me. It set me free. The first Monday I spent without a job felt strange. No alarms. No meetings. No inbox. I made coffee and actually tasted it. Sat by the window and watched the world wake up without needing anything from me. I thought I would feel empty. I did not. I felt still. I started doing little things. I cleaned my apartment, really cleaned it. Threw out boxes I had moved 3 times without opening. Donated clothes I forgot I owned. I even fixed the dripping faucet I had ignored for over a year. Funny how the fixer always lets his own stuff fall apart. I visited my dad more. We would sit and watch old movies, the kind where nothing really happens, but somehow you feel better by the end. I started to realize I did not need to say much. I just needed to be there. I even called up a couple friends I had pushed away over the years. People I used to cancel on with the excuse, "Work's crazy right now." They laughed when I finally showed up. One of them, Jonas, said, "I thought you died or got promoted to CEO of Stress." "Kind of both," I told him. He nodded like he understood. I started writing again. Nothing big. Just a little notebook I kept by the bed. I wrote about the silence, the way coffee tasted without pressure, the way my hands stopped shaking in the mornings. It was not for anyone but me. And that felt like enough. And then, one night, I got a call. Blocked number. I almost did not answer. But curiosity got the better of me. It was Dan, from the office. His voice was tense, awkward. He said he did not want anything. Just wanted to say he got it now. Said he was drowning in all the little things Nate used to just handle. Said he had no idea how much I had been carrying. I told him, "You were never supposed to know." That was the point. He asked if I ever thought about coming back. Maybe in a new role. Something lighter. I paused. And then I said, "No, I don't think I'm supposed to go back to being the guy who makes broken things look like they work." He sighed. "Well, if you ever change your mind." I told him thanks, and I meant it. Then I ended the call. I looked around my apartment. The lights were soft, the dishes were clean, the couch still held a dent where I had spent too many nights sleeping in work clothes. But something had changed. This was my space now. Not a crash site. Not a recharge station. Just mine. And for the first time, I started to wonder if maybe I could build a life that did not revolve around fixing everything. If maybe I could be enough even when I was not being used. That question, it stuck with me. Because I knew the final test was still ahead. And it would come when someone I cared about finally needed something I could not give. It came on a Sunday morning. Cloudy. Quiet. The kind of day that makes you want to stay under a blanket and let the world pass without asking anything from you. The call came from my sister. This time, she did not sound angry. No guilt, no edge. Just tired. Dad fell again, she said. It wasn't serious, but I can't do this alone, Nate. I need help. There it was. The test. Everything in me wanted to jump into old mode. Grab my keys. Cancel the day. Start managing appointments, groceries, medications, bills, just like I used to. But I stopped. I breathed. I remembered the notebook on my nightstand and the words I had written over and over. You are not responsible for keeping everything from breaking. So I asked her something I had never asked before. What kind of help do you need? She was quiet. I do not think she expected that. I thought you could take over for a while. I'm tired, Nate. I understood that feeling. Deeply. But I also knew that stepping in the way I used to would not help her. Or me. Or Dad. So I said something that hurt to say. I'll help where I can. But I won't lose myself again. If we're going to do this, we do it together, or we get professional care involved. She did not answer right away. I think part of her was hoping I would snap back into old Nate. The fixer, the self-sacrificer. But I waited. And finally, she sighed. Okay, maybe it's time we stop pretending we can carry this alone. That was it. No big explosion. No dramatic scene. Just the quiet start of something healthier. Later that night, I sat outside on my balcony, sipping warm tea, something I never used to have time for. The city buzzed softly beneath me. For once, I was not bracing for the next emergency. I thought about the years I spent being the hero. The fixer. The guy who patched every leak and caught every falling plate. And I realized something brutal and beautiful at the same time. Being needed is not the same as being loved. People will praise you for holding the weight of their world, right up until the moment you need them to carry even a sliver of yours. That is the truth no one tells you. You can give everything and still be left behind when you break. And so I walked away, not out of spite, not to punish them, but because I finally understood the cost of being endlessly available. I did not need anyone to beg me to stay. I just needed permission from myself to leave. That was the day I stopped fixing things that never fixed me back. That was the day I chose peace over being useful. That was the day I stopped being the hero and started being a person again.